You are listening to the Intelligent Racer Podcast, where we look to educate and entertain the endurance racing community through discussions with racing professionals and elite age groupers.
On today's episode, we speak with professional triathlete Lauren Goss. She's the 2017 winner of St. Anthony's and the Escape From Alcatraz Triathlons. We talk about those races and other topics such as injury prevention and training. I hope you enjoy. Lauren, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So let's start off, just talk a little bit about your background. So you come from a swimming background, so you eventually got into triathlons. And so I guess, how did that kind of transition go for you? I mean, what did you find harder to ramp up to, cycling or running off the bike?
Yeah, I did competitive swimming until I was only 15 years old. I got burnt out, actually, and I also, struggled with eating disorder in high school, so I lost a lot of weight, typical lose weight, no energy, so I kind of phased out of swimming because it just wasn't motivating anymore because I was doing terrible and training all the time.
Yeah.
So I took a big break from sports, probably from 16 years old until I was 20. I went to school at Clemson University, and I really just focused on my studies. And I was running a little bit just for fun, just to, exercise a little, not get too fat in college. And then once I was introduced to triathlon, honestly, cycling has always been my weakness. It still is my weakness. I do like riding my bike, but I don't love it, and I love running, and I love swimming, and I think to excel at anything, you have to love it. So I'm trying to still fall in love with cycling. I've lived in some pretty cool places to ride my bike, so I'm still waiting for that,
Yeah.
God, I really love riding my bike 4 hours today. My long ride, I dread it all week. I absolutely hate it, but, give me a 20-mile run, and I love it. So
Yeah.
I think it's just wrapping my head around cycling and finding new ways to motivate me and keep it fun. And that's tough, but that's something I struggle with personally, and I just keep trying to get better at it.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's the swimming leg that I kind of, I don't look forward to going to the pool, and I tell myself constantly that I love swimming, and then I always end up afterwards feeling so much better for doing it. So I can feel your struggle with, we
all struggle with something, and unfortunately though, it's a big disadvantage for me because the biking is the biggest time chunk of the race,
Right.
Swimming, you put all this time into it to get 1 minute faster, but biking is there are huge time gains to be made, and I realize that, so I'm really working on it.
Yeah. So you had some really good success in triathlon early on in life. So you were named the under 23 USA Triathlon Athlete of the Year, which is a huge accomplishment. And so for young people out there looking to get into triathlon and excel, I mean, what would your advice be to them, and how to approach it from that age and moving into as you get older?
I started later in life than most people, I think, but it's possible. And I didn't have much support. I live in Boulder now, and I train with a bunch of kids in their early 20s, and their parents just hand them everything, oh, you want a new bike? Here's the newest bike. You want to just do triathlon and take a semester off? Well, we'll fund you to do that. And I'm not, nothing against those people. We're all given the life we're given, we're born into it. But I had no support at all. I mean, everything I had to work for. I was working 2 jobs. That year I got under 23 Athlete of the Year. I was working in a running store and a biking store. I was living on a tiny twin bed air mattress. I was paying rent by selling gear that I would get from USA Triathlon that I didn't need. And I really struggled. I mean, the struggle was real. If I wanted to make it, I had to, I either had to make it or I didn't make it. There were no options. So it's a blessing in disguise at that point. I was really frustrated, and I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I had a degree in biology. I had gotten into physician assistant school. I had my whole career path paved, and I chose to do this sport where I had nothing. I had no support. I had no sponsors. I mean, and And so I think you can make it work even if you have nothing, you know, and I think we'll all be better for it in the end. And I encourage people starting, like, you know, not to give up and to just keep pursuing their dream. I said I'd give it 3 years, and if I couldn't support myself and make a little salary, then I wasn't doing it anymore. And every year of the sport to this day, I make a financial goal for myself. And if I don't hit it, then I'm like, okay, let's reevaluate what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm really big into triathlon is my job. A lot of people are like, triathlon is my passion, and I do love triathlon, but in the end of the day, I treat this as a business. And I think that's why I've been successful, is because, you know, I do treat it as a business, and I make wise business decisions. And I'm, you know, I know the importance of my sponsors, and I know the importance of engaging with my followers. And there's a lot more to triathlon than just swim, bike, run. And I think if you can get your head wrapped around that, then you can be successful at it, even if you aren't, you know, a world champion. Because I'm nowhere near a world champion, but I've been very successful over my career. And I really just, I mean, it's just hard work, you know, and it's not always, you know, going to the biggest races. You know, it's like, what's the smartest business decision for me to make?
Right.
To continue to continue living this dream and making, making money. And at the end of the day, that's, you know, I mean, it's a job. So,
Yeah.
But I do love it. And I'm very thankful to be doing what I do.
Yeah. And it was music to my ears when you said that you understand the importance of engaging your fans and you know, doing things like podcasts and stuff. Cause I think it's, you know, so valuable, and just to, you know, I'm a fan as well. You know, I'm an amateur athlete, but I'm also a fan, and having athletes come on to either this podcast or any podcast or do an interview or anything is just really, really valuable, for not just for the athlete, but also for the sport, you know, to get that exposure. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. I just, actually, ironically, 5 minutes before you called me, I just had a message on Instagram, like, thank you so much. I love following you because you actually reply. Like, this guy asked me a message about being plant-based. I just switched over to being a vegan at the beginning of the year. And I actually, you know, take the time to reply to people. And I don't know what other people are doing, but, you know, in the end, I'm just a normal person, right? And so
Exactly.
I love helping out people, because when I first started, I asked so many questions, and I still remember those athletes who helped me to the day. And I think it's really important to share everything, you know, I've learned in the sport and life with people that are interested. So if someone takes time to reach out to me, then, like, of course, I'll give them my time back.
Yeah, that's an awesome attitude. I really appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about this year and some races. You've had a heck of a year already, and, you know, we're not, I guess maybe midway through the season, but, you know, let's start off with St. Anthony. So I raced that a couple years ago. You know, it's an early season race down in Florida. You this year not only won, but won every leg. So you had a dominating performance. So can you just talk about that a little bit? I mean, how did you know, it's an early season race. How do you get prepared for something like that and obviously have an amazing day?
So in 2016, I actually started my season in Panama in January, and my coach, Simon Lessing, he really highly suggested I not do that. And I was really hard-headed and was like, "Good, huge prize purse, no one's going to be there. I'm going to crush it. I'm going to get all the money." But I was terrible. And it really, like, set my whole season up for failure, because I was fit too early, and then I kept getting sick, and it just didn't work out. So this year I was like, I'm not racing until I'm absolutely ready. And I was signed up for Lima 70.3 in early April, but I pulled out last minute, and I felt terrible about it because I committed to the race, but I just wasn't ready. And I don't see the point of showing up at a race if you're not ready. So when I went to St. Anthony's, I was 100% confident. I wasn't nervous. Like, I knew I could probably win that race easily because I was so fit, and, like, there were no doubts in my mind. And I had done that race already, I think, 4 times. So I knew the course like the back of my hand, you know. I knew what it took to win. I knew that I needed to ride 1 hour. I needed to run 36 minutes. And if I could do those things, then I'd win the race. And it's exactly what I did. Unfortunately, the swim was a little bit shortened. And the swim's my best thing, so I was kind of upset, but, like, it's fine. Yeah, so I think just being prepared. I mean, I knew I was ready, and I knew exactly what I had to do. So I think knowing that going into a race, for one, calms your nerves because there's no guessing games. Like, if you look at the results at St. Anthony's, every single winner rides an hour and then 36 minutes. So it's like, I mean, that's what you have to do. And I delivered on the day, and I was fortunate to feel good and come away with the win. And it was for sure a confidence booster for me. And I really enjoy Olympic distance racing over 73, so I was pretty excited to be on the start line of like a big Olympic distance race because there are not many of those left.
Yeah,
right
and St. A's always has a good field, and it's really it's an awesome race. And you mentioned the swim was shortened, so another race that you won this year was Escape from Alcatraz, and that swim was canceled. So I mean, and you're a swimmer, so talk a little bit about kind of mentally how do you reset when a curveball is thrown at you, because from an amateur's perspective, it really upsets our day. We're worried about weather, we're freaking out, this and that, and then usually a lot of times the athletes are already defeated before they've even started the race. And so when you're thrown something like a shortened swim or no swim or whatever it may be, I mean, how do you go about thinking about it and just saying, hey, focus and this is my race?
Yeah, so it was funny that, I mean, it sucks that the swim was canceled at Alcatraz, but it was ironic because, I'd already been in that situation earlier this year, so I kind of knew how to handle it. Fortunately, though, at Alcatraz, every single female there was a pretty good swimmer, so I think in the end we all would have just come out of the water together, and it would have just canceled itself out.
Yeah.
But, I think by doing things in training, like bike time trials, I know I'm confident and like I can just start a race on the bike. But I have had experience racing bike races, and like, so I know the importance of a warm up. And so instead of like, when you hear the swim is canceled, and instead of like complaining and being upset and blaming the race director, I mean, you just switch your mind to, okay, what do I need to do now to have the best bike run I can have? And so at Alcatraz, I immediately was like, I need a good warm up, because I know I need a good, like usually I treat the swim as a warm up, and I need to get a good warm up. So I told people, other professionals just sitting around like bummed, waiting to go. And I like ran 3 miles before the race because I knew that's what I needed to be able to just go out on a 40 KT, or was it however long the bike is there, but like a time trial bike start. So instead of like being depressed and sad, I completely just changed my focus to what do I need to do to have the best bike run possible. And Alcatraz was, I mean, it was like a dream come true. I went into that race like with zero confidence. I had a terrible race the weekend before, and I mean, I'm racing the best girls in triathlon right now. Holly Lauren hasn't been beaten in a year, and a bunch of Olympians, and I mean, I was like, I don't even deserve to be here. Like, I don't know why I'm in this group. And so I had no pressure, and the time trial starts kind of fun because you're just trying to catch people, and I still can't believe I won that race, honestly. I just saw a picture someone posted like yesterday, and I was like, I won Alcatraz. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like the coolest accomplishment of my life, I think. And it's something so small, but ever since I did that race for the first time, I was like, I want to win this race. And it was actually the first triathlon I'd ever heard about in my whole life before I even knew what triathlon was. So, yeah, it was really, really special. And I was so thankful to be invited back to that event, for sure.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's an amazing accomplishment over another, strong field. So it's an incredible year. So, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you a little bit about the New York City Triathlon. I'm based in New York City, and so it's my local tri, and I'm always out there supporting it and stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that race? I believe it's on your schedule this year. I don't know if it still is, but what do you like about it? Why do you keep coming back?
Yeah, so I've actually only done it once. I was second place there in 2015, I believe, and so it's funny. So again, for the third big Olympic distance race I'm doing this year, there will be no swim, essentially. I mean, there is a swim, but like
Barely.
you said, it's not really that important. So I have confidence going into this because I know I've done 2 races this year with no swim, essentially. And so, that's, it is what it is. It's a little warm-up. I love New York City Triathlon. I couldn't go last year. It just didn't fit my schedule, but I love big cities, and it's just so exciting to be able to be running through Central Park and some streets of Manhattan just shut down for us. Like, that's pretty cool. It's a very tough Olympic distance race, though. The bike course is really, really hard. I've been trying to work on some things that I know I need to be good at that race. This year it's an equalizer race, so the women go, I think, around 12 minutes before the men. So I don't really know who's on the women's start list, but I do know who's on the men's start list. So I'm just going into it like I'm racing Cam Dye.
Yeah.
Like, that's who I'm going to New York City to race. And I'm like, kind of like at St. Anthony's. I was like, if I run and bike these times, I will win the race. And so I know if I cross the line before Cam Dye, I will probably win the female race, So instead of really focusing in on, like, what girls are there, like, who do I have to beat? I'm just going into it like, I got to beat all the guys and I'll win the race.
Right.
So that's my mindset. And my parents are coming out to watch me, and my mom, they had never really seen New York, so I'm pretty excited to show them. And I'm actually very excited for the race. I find over 7.3, like, I don't get very pumped up about it. I'm like standing on the start line dreading it, but this race I'm like super excited about. And so I hope it goes well.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope to meet you there.
Yeah. No, I'll be out there, and I've had Cam on the podcast before, so I'll be cheering you both on. So let's talk a little bit about training and that sort of thing. So it sounds like you've had, obviously everyone has ups and downs in their career, but right now you seem to be on a heck of a streak, and this year. So, has anything sort of changed in your training going into this year? You talked a little bit about, making sure you focus on your A races and not peaking too early. You also mentioned some dietary changes. Do you want to talk a little bit about any of that in terms of, how you feel that's contributing to your success this year?
Yeah. So I've actually worked with a lot of coaches, and I've worked with Cliff English, I've worked with Dave Scott, and now with Simon Lessing and his partner Darren DeRuck. And like, I've learned a lot from all of these coaches, and this is my like 6th year racing pro, and I would say it's taken a solid 6 years for me to put together a strong Olympic distance race. And that sounds crazy, but I'm finally just at that point where I can confidently go into an Olympic distance race and be like, I'm prepared. But I'm still struggling with that, like I said, in 70.3, nowhere near that level yet. But I think it's a lot of just consistency over time. Like, I've been working with my current coaches for the last, this will be 2 years coming up at NYC Tri, and, we haven't done anything differently. It's just consistency, day in and day out, and like your body just gets adjusted to like going these certain paces for certain amounts of time. So training wise, I haven't done anything differently. I've just been injury free, and I think that's really important. I'm a big believer of getting body work every week. I do strength training 3 times a week. Like, I do all the little things so I don't get injured. And then I have changed my diet to being plant-based. And I was a little nervous about it, and I can't tell you how many people have asked me, how do I get my protein? But I have found that I recover a lot better, and my sleep is like 10 times better. And that in itself is like a drug. Like, if you can find a way to have solid sleep, I think it's key to success. And so yeah, I've just been sleeping better, eating better, and consistently training. Over my whole career, I've been pretty consistent. Like, I'm always on the podium, but I haven't really like had any like big wins or breakthrough races. So this year I've seen like 2 races, like glimpses of like what I can do, and it's given me some confidence. But then I've also had some terrible races this year. So it's just the ups and downs of sport. And I think that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me motivated is having a fantastic result and then 7 days later have the worst race of your life. Like, I don't know how that works, and I'm not that consistent yet, but I'm hopeful, and I'm being patient, and I know it just takes time. So.
Yeah. And so I have lots of questions. You've covered a lot of really good topics, but I guess since you kind of ended with the consistency thing, at what point in the race do you know you're having a special day? I mean, is it midway through the run or obviously at the finish line? But I mean, when is it that you feel something in your body and you're like, okay, today's the day. I'm nothing's going to stop me. The reason I ask is I haven't had that day yet on the race course. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I've only probably had 3 races in my life that have everything has gone right. I mean, and I just felt invincible, and it rarely happens, really. And for me, I know about halfway through the bike, like if I'm not getting tired and like my power's still up and I'm still feeling awesome, like I know for sure my run is going to be great because my run is a strength of mine. So it's usually on the bike for me, like halfway through. I know. And like if I'm having a bad bike, I'm not gonna lie, like I'll self-sabotage sometimes and just blow the run. Like I don't even race sometimes on the run. I'm just like, I'll have a bad bike, I'm not gonna have a good run, I'm just gonna finish the race. Like, and it's something, it's a mind game, and we all struggle with it. And I'd be lying, if I said I didn't. So it's something you work on. Like, I think you can still turn around your day if you have a bad bike. But for me right now, like, I think I know the race is going to be a good day. But it's funny because Alcatraz, I had no idea because it was a time trial start. And I got off the bike and I had really no idea where I was. And then I heard on the announcing thing that I was 1 minute down from Holly Lawrence, and I started 1 minute behind her. And Holly usually outbikes me by a lot. So, like, for that, like, really motivated me.
Oh, and, yeah.
I mean, I'm honestly not sure if I didn't hear that, if I would have run as hard. I don't know, So it's all on your mind, half of it, And that race especially, it told me, like, I, like, need to work on my mental game because I can guarantee you if I got out of this team with Holly, I would have just on the bike because automatically I would have been like, she's better than me. Like, I can't ride with her. No way. But because it was a time trial start, like, I think I just rode within myself and I proved that I'm just as good, And so the mental side of triathlon especially is very, very hard. And across all levels, you struggle with it, And, I mean, it's something we have to work on every day. And so even age group athletes, you're having a bad bike. Like, when you make that decision when you get off the bike if you're going to have a good run or not. Like, that's your choice right there. And so I'm working on it.
Right. And are you, do you do anything specific on the mental strength side? Or are you doing any, like, as let's say you're in a dark spot on the bike or the run or whatever, is there anything you have, mantra or any sort of tips or anything that, would help you? I mean, obviously part of it is just putting in the training and having confidence, but, we all hit those spots where we have trouble coming out of it.
Yeah. So I really try to just key back on, like, some key workouts I've done, like, remember, like, I felt terrible eating the workout, but I finished really strong. Or one race that always stays in my memory was in 2015, I did Silverman 70.3, and I came off the bike 7 minutes down. And I was like, well, I'm out of it, But I ran so strong, and I won the race. And I ran 10 minutes faster than any female out there. And I didn't give up that day, and I don't know why that happened. I must have felt really good on the run, but I've often had, like, think back to that scenario, like that race in particular, and I, like, think about it, and I'm like, you've done it before, you can do it again. And so I try to just remember, like, certain sessions or certain races where I have bounced back. But that doesn't mean you're going to do it every time. And if you don't, then, oh, well, you just move on from the race, and you just look forward to the next one and try to figure out what happened. Like, I'm realistic. Every race is not going to be perfect. And, like, I'm just trying to do the best I can every time. But staying mentally sharp is, like I said, like, half the battle. And I think just creating some good memories and training or certain races and just thinking about those when you're in a dark time, they help you get through that time and hopefully, move on to something more positive.
Right. No, yeah, that makes sense. That definitely is very good advice. And so I want to loop back, though, to something you talked about a little bit earlier, because I get a lot of emails and and various things from listeners asking if I can ask more questions about recovery and injury prevention. And you talked a little bit about how you do strength 3 days a week and you get body work done, that kind of thing. Can you just elaborate a little bit in terms of like your, kind of your approach in that area around recovery and injury prevention? Obviously sleep's a big part of it. And you said your diet, having a good diet, but anything else there? Because, as I said, that's a topic that a lot of amateurs struggle with. Some of it is just doing too much too soon, but love to hear your thoughts on it.
So I think, I have been very, very fortunate. I've never had an injury in my whole career, ever. I've never been injured as an athlete, period. I mean, and I don't know, why, but,
good genetics.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Or maybe I don't train enough. I think doing the little things, like every morning I wake up, I do a routine of hip opening stretches before running, and every time I get back from a run, I do foam rolling. Like, these things sound like, oh yeah, I know. I know I'm supposed to do that. But I think the problem is with people, that are trying to train a lot, because first of all, I can't imagine working full time, having a family, and doing an Ironman. I can't imagine how that is possible. I only strictly do triathlon right now. I teach swim lessons on the side just for fun. But I don't understand how people have full-time jobs and train as much as I do. And they do. And I think the problem is people cut out all that extra little stuff so they can get in a longer bike ride or a longer run. And I think in the end, it's probably better you do your stretches, you do your foam rolling, and you cut your run in half. And that's okay, because, you're not going to get injured. And in the end, you're going to miss more time by being injured than just cutting your workout shorter, to get the proper prehab and recovery. And so I really try to do that. And as soon as I feel something, my massage therapist and we have this scale, okay, she's how is, right now my knee is kind of bothering me. And I know it's bothering me because I raced 3 weekends in a row. I didn't do any strength or conditioning, and I got back in the gym, and I thought I could deadlift and squat the same amount, as I was when I left off. And, it's I'm okay, it's a 6 out of 10, so I'm not going to bike or run until it feels better. And I'm okay with that. So I think people are not confident in their training, and they think even if they're injured, they have to push through and keep training because they don't have much time and the race is coming up, and, you got to get the sessions in. And I mean, in the end, we've all worked out so much. If you miss 1 week of running, it's okay. If it means your knee's going to feel better, or, something like that. So it sounds so simple. There are no secrets, but really just paying attention to the warning signs. Okay, if something's hurting, listen to it and just take some downtime and I drink a ton of water, get a lot of sleep at night. I kind of cut back on alcohol, and I feel like I'm recovering a lot better.
I think from the amateur perspective, you hit it right in the nail on the head, which is we tend to overtrain because we're fearful, and then we sort of ignore kind of the symptoms, and we're oh, we have to do another session. I have my coaches this year have really held me back and really focused on that kind of stuff. So, and I'm doing Ironman Placid soon, and I'm a lot healthier this year than I was last year because of that. So it's really good advice.
Yeah, well, and I mean, if anything, I struggle with a little plantar fasciitis, and my calves will get really tight, and I think a lot of people have that.
Oh, yeah, I do.
And, yeah. And I do work with Hoka. They are a sponsor of mine, but I will say they, saved my calves. My calves are never tight anymore, even after, a race, something like Alcatraz. I remember the first year I did it, I couldn't run for 2 weeks after. That course is so demanding. It is so many steep downhills and sand, and hard pavement. And, my calves are destroyed. But since running in Hoka's, I feel like I can recover a lot better, and I don't have to take that day off after a hard run just because, my calves, they just feel better. There's less impact, But I will say I am fearful for the day I'm not running in Hoka's and normal shoes again. I'm not sure if I can go back to those.
Yeah, I hear you.
So once they lock you in, they kind of lock you in. But I mean, and running shoes in general, I think another thing is people don't want to spend the money on running shoes. I think it's really important to keep updating your shoes, and not wear them out too much. I know they're expensive, but if you're going to do it right, and just keep track of that, don't make sure your shoes aren't worn out and you have no, there's no cushion left, right? So just little things like that, I think, will keep you injury free.
Cool. Well, we're almost out of time here. So one final question, which is, I was looking at your kind of your race history, and you've done races all over the world, some really interesting races and things. What would you say would be kind of either one of your favorite races that you've done or something on your bucket list? I'm not going to allow you to use Escape from Alcatraz, even though I know it's a special race and you won it, but something else, something there, somewhere you went that was exotic or interesting, or just a race that really, you would recommend for people to go check out.
It was a race in Cartagena in Colombia, and it's such a special race. The swim is so beautiful, and the run, the city is enclosed by this brick wall. Okay. And so you're running through this, like, kind of like, I don't know. It was like for when they had, like, for the military way back when, right? There's, like, cannons and stuff. And you're like in this, like, maze, kind of like Hunger Games, like a maze. There's people, the whole run course just lined up, like 7 feet deep. Like, I thought I was in Tour de France or something. And it's such a cool race course. It is miserable conditions, so hot and humid. But the course and the people and the culture, it's something like, it's unforgettable. It was a great, great race. And then in this state, I would probably have to say New York City Triathlon. It's so cool. And there's, like, people in the run course, you're running through Central Park and, like, someone's jogging their baby, and, like, I don't know. It's pretty special.
Cool.
I'll have to go with Cartagena and New York City Tri.
Well, I like the New York City answer since I'm biased and that's my home race. But Cartagena sounds awesome. I'll have to add that one to the bucket list.
Out. Yeah,
for sure. Although you had me, the heat and humidity scares me a little bit. I don't do well in that. But anyway, I'll still.
Yeah, but no one does well. So it's so cool. Okay, awesome. We're all going slow. I kind of like. Oh, and also St. Croix. St. Croix was just unbelievable. But I think that race is canceled. But I was really lucky to win it. The last year they had a pro race there, and I'm so glad I chose to go because it was a really unforgettable experience.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've been down there for a swim race, and so I know the island, and it's amazing. And it's unfortunate that it's no longer going to be on the Ironman 70.3 circuit, but maybe they'll keep the race. I don't know, but it's kind of sad.
It might come back.
Yeah, never know. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Lots of good tips, and good luck in New York. I'll definitely be out there cheering for you. So, best of luck, and beat Cam. I think you can beat him with the equalizer, and you'll both be happy. So, that's the goal here.
I'll see you at the finish line.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Intelligent Racer podcast. For more information on this and other episodes, please visit www.intelligentracer.com. Also, be sure to check us out on social media, and please review us on your podcast directory. Join us next time for another edition of the Intelligent Racer.